Hello grade 12s. Today I'm looking at 2019 IEB paper 2 and I'm going to be looking at the isometric drawing today. So with the isometric drawings in 2018 the isometric drawing was a half section, meaning a quarter of the shape was cut away, and in 2019 if we take a look at the shape here, well, here we've got a full section. What they were doing was they were alternating and testing your sectioning ability. So over here, if they did a full section in isometric, they alternated in the mechanical assembly, and then they did a half section in the mechanical assembly. So an important aspect of a mechanical drawing is to be able to do sectional views. So it's something that has come up with the new examiner. So it's a full sectioned isometric view. So spend a moment going through the information here, and we'll get started shortly with the constructions. So the first thing that I like to start with is to get some marks on the board, and that for me is to draw the constructions. So in your instructions they've said you've got to show the construction of the square and any other auxiliaries. You're going to probably need to do this one here as well, where we've got this little rib at the bottom of the shape. So that's my first thing. They tell me that the square has a distance between the squares or the sides of 34. Now you could draw this as a flat square and you could get the same shape, but generally what happens is if you're going to do this construction, we draw a circle that touches the inside of that. So we would start by drawing the circle with a radius of 17 and a diameter of 34, and they've given us this construction area to do that. So I'm going to draw that circle with a radius of 17. Here's my circle with that radius of 17, and all I'm going to now do is draw in my diagonals. And there is that construction. In order to find this height over here, I need to construct this. Well, they've actually given it to me there. So I actually don't think I need to do that construction. So I'm now ready to start my shape. Now, as we get going, let's remember the following, please, that your time allocation needs to be 35 minutes to complete this drawing. Don't spend too much longer than that on this, otherwise you're going to be losing out on time to complete your other drawings. A nice thing to do before you get started though would be to make a little sketch, give you an idea of what you think this shape will look like before you get drawing. Okay, so there I've got an idea that of what this shape could look like. And I'm ready to get started. The first thing that I like to do on my drawing is to draw an isometric axis and position the start of my shape They have given us the start point of P, which is at this point over here. Now, if we're going to mark off our shape, I'm going to look at maybe going and getting this little L shape and then across to where this horizontal little shape goes through there. So I'm going to look at marking off those measurements to start. So it's always worthwhile and helps your speed if you could mark off a couple of measurements at the same time. So that was the 55, now I'm marking off the 70. Again, let's try and be accurate with your measurements. Okay, the height measurements I'm looking for here, there's a 15, a 24, a 6 and a 20. So we can mark all those off. So there's my 15 and 24 and 6 and 20. So always try and mark off a few different measurements at the same time. Really helps you with your speed instead of marking off one measurement at a time. These should all be construction lines, your light line, because we don't know what's going to become permanent and what's going to become hidden detail. So very important, your line quality here in your isometric drawing. So here I can see that little L shape that I've got, and here is this part coming across to the center of where my circle is going to be. Now if we mark off some measurements there, so at this point, if that's this distance here, I need the radius, which is a radius of 31. Now 31 is quite a random measurement, and the point is they're trying to see, are you able to measure random distances? Okay, so please be aware of that. They're trying to test your skill of using a ruler correctly. So there's my distance of 31, and I'm going to go up another radius of 31, which would give me the top of my circle. So I'm only going to use that later for my square. They tell me that from that center point it's going to go up a distance of 60. So what I want to do is mark off that distance of 60, which is where I can draw these two little forks at the top. Now for these forks, they're telling me that that distance is 10 in the middle and 10 on either side. Now if I've got the center here, I'm obviously going to then need to mark off 5 on either side. And then a measurement of 10. Okay, so we've got a few things coming together here, and let's go for our circle construction next. For my circle construction, there is the center, that distance of 31 and 31 up, and I've marked off 31 on either side, and I've created that square. When I look at the shape now, I look at the distance between the midpoints, and I can tell that this distance here is a bigger distance than that distance, meaning I must draw a big radius arc here and the same on that side. So I take my compass, put it in this corner, extend it to the midpoint, check that it's touching both sides, and there's that arc there. Flip my compass around, put it on the other side. Again, check that it's touching. And there's the big arc. To find the small arc, I draw in the diagonal in the small quadrants. And my test for accuracy is that it's going to run through the center of my shape. Take one of your big arcs and draw it in. So in other words, that's where I put my compass. That's where I extended it to the midpoint, so there I draw that in. There at the intersection gives me this point. Do the same on the other side. From the center to the midpoint on that side. Where it hits there is the other one. Now this is a small radius, so what happens is I stay in this quadrant, put my compass there, extend that, and draw my small arc. Go. So there's that arc at the moment. I'm going to just darken up some of the lines so that I've got an idea of what's happening. So generally what I like to do is draw my lines in at the same time. So these were vertical lines. I'm going to try and put in as many vertical lines as I can at this stage. I'm not going all the way with this because I haven't worked out where that's going to finish just yet. There's some of my points. Now I'll do some of my 30-degree lines. Again, just trying to move down my shape and find the points that I can so long. Now, at the bottom of this shape, we've got that rib here at the bottom, and the start point of the rib is here, and it finished there, so we could just join this one up at the moment as well. And so there's some of my shape. Now let's start working off the width dimensions. Hopefully you're checking your time, and you're doing alright. Remember, we've got 35 minutes. Also, it's worthwhile to take a bit of a pause in your drawing and just go and check your measurements again. So there, that distance was 40, that distance is 15, I'm happy with that. This distance was 70, yeah, 70. So these distances were 10, 10, 10. Okay, so just spend a few seconds just rechecking your measurements to see that they match up with what you've got in your drawing. I'm now going to start projecting my lines across to get my width dimensions. There I have projected my width dimensions. I know at the top of the shape here I need half of 60, so I need to mark off a distance of 30. And there is my distance of 30. For this part, it's half of 112, so that's 56. Again, a random distance, because they want to see, are you able to measure accurately. Now what I've done is I've just picked a point here and I'm going to now project to get the other ones the same over there. So because that's the edge, I'm projecting and projecting. Okay, I cheated on that one. Draw it in. So by projecting, I'm able to find where the edges are of the shape. Now you'll notice that I haven't put in my square just yet. That's maybe, I'm leaving it for the end. I'm trying to make sure that I can get the easy marks by finding just the edges of these, which I think are easier than working out where your square is going to be in this shape. Okay, so that's the only reason that I haven't done my square. I'm trying to get the marks for these points which are easier to find. Okay, I'm going to put in this rib on this side. So here is this edge coming down. And then we can join up the start point to the end point, and that is that edge of that rib there. And again, I'm just darkening up my lines a little bit now, see what is visible. Now on this side we've got that little rib coming around, so we're trying to find the tangent that goes from this point here to that edge there. And there is that little aspect there. Now this rib has got a thickness of 14, again a bit of a random number. I'm marking off 7 from that point, and I'm going to mark off 7 on this side, and that's going to give me this edge for that rib. So what's left for me to do is find where the back end of this shape is, and then let's put in that square. Okay, I'm going to find this back end of this corner now. Now remember, this part sticking out there was this narrow part, so it's not the same thickness. It is tapering, so here is wide up against this shape, and it then narrows to come and touch where it is that distance at the point here. So what we can do is the following. We know that it's going to be touching in line with the center here. So here was the center. So I'm going to just extend that line back. And I need to mark off half of 60. There was my distance of 30, just where the circle is. On this side, we're going to extend this edge where our distance was half of 112, so 56. And there was that point there. So if we're looking at the point is going to be going from here to this edge here. And that's that little aspect that we're going to see there. Okay, let's get our square put in. So what I'm going to do is I've got a center line here. So I'm going to be using that same measurement of that center line. So what I'm going to do here is take the distance from the center to the point, which should be all on the same point because it's a square. I come and put it in the center of my shape here, mark off on my 30-degree and my vertical line, and that's going to give me my points for that square. Join them up. Now again, these sides should be parallel. If they're not parallel, check please, you might have a problem. Now that should fall on the 30-degree line, so we're not going to see any other points going in. Okay, and I shouldn't have drawn that line all the way there because it's going to stop at the extension of this line. Let me just fix that up there. And so there are those points. This edge we will see because it's open, the window, so that'll extend like that. Let's put in these edges here. Again, this is open, so I'm going to see a little window, which is going to give me this little edge here. Now, what I need to try and find is this little arc that I'll see at the back here. So I know that the center point of my arc was here, and I needed to mark off a width dimension of 30. So I'm going to mark off 30, which gives me the center of my shape. And what I'll do is then take the same radius that I've used to draw my big arc. Okay, so I'll set that up to my big arc, check that it's correct, move it across here, and then I'm going to have this arc coming around. That will finish at that point over there. Then we need to use the bottom little arc. So again, we're going to take this distance here of 30. Take the radius of my small arc. Come and position it here. and finish off that little bit of the arc. You might see a tiny little aspect here of a line going back. Okay, and now just to put in my center line. So I like to have the short dash in the middle. Okay, I'm just going to raise that out there. Short dash, space, long dash, going past the edge of the circle. Short dash in the middle. Space, long dash, extending past the edge. Because that circle's traveling through there, on this axis we should also have the center line running in that direction as well. Okay, and now we've got to put in the hatching. So the main parts are here, going through there, and this edge of the shape. This is a rib that doesn't get hatched, and that is a rib that doesn't get hatched. Please remember your hatching angle is 60 degrees. So I'm hatching at 1 centimeter spaces, 10 millimeters. Remember that your hatching should be a B line, which is lighter than your outline. So make sure that we can distinguish between the different line types that you have. And there is my hatching. So if we check, we've done constructions. They've asked for 2. Not sure which 2 they were looking for, as that to me is the only one, and these ones join up. Okay, our isometric points, we got there isometric circles for 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 2 for construction of our square center lines. There's our one center line, there's our other center line. Hatching and non-hatching, so they're probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe they're half marks because this wouldn't be hatched and that wouldn't be hatched. Position, I think we've got the position correct from where point P is. So the grade 12s is the isometric of the 2019 paper. A full section of this casting. My drawing time has been 29 minutes, so that's under my time of 35. So I hope you also under 35 minutes. Hello grade 12s, my apologies. This looks very close to that center but that's obviously not, and that is the construction for the second one. So I needed a height here of 15 and 24. So what I'm going to just do is draw a random vertical line, random horizontal line. I'm going to mark off that height of 15 plus 24, giving me a height of 39. There's my height of 39, and now I draw in that 30 degree. That now gives us this X value, which we should take to draw this rib at the bottom of casting. There it is there. And okay, I mean, that's out by a tiny little bit. Alright, we're going to fix that up. So it was a little bit shorter, maybe 2 mils shorter. And there is where it should be. So my apologies about that one. Hopefully you didn't make the same mistake that I did.